Yeah, so the Epstein files are being released in phases. I believe that the reason for the phases, outside of pure publicity reasons, might be because of the fact that they're taking time to gather all of them from the FBI and then release them as they have hold of them. A lot of people have been very suspicious as to why they can't just all be gathered at once and then released to the public at once. But honestly, the whole thing is a circus show thus far and a disaster, and I think that it's being done for a very intentional reason, which I will get into in a moment. But first, we have the new Islander out, Islander issue 3. It will be available for a limited time through the website for the low, low price of $14.99. As always, wonderfully presented with lots of fantastic imagery through here, brilliant articles by Carl, Morgoth, Alexander Adams, and a few new contributors as well. Well worth your time to have a limited piece of Lotus Eaters and Islander merchandise right here that you can go back to again and again and again and get infinite value out of. So please, if you want to support us, order that on the website right now. Anyway, moving on at the moment. So what we know right now is that Phase 1 has released a load of these Jeffrey Epstein files, and you can go onto the American government website and see the press report that they've put here. They've said that Attorney General Pamela Bondi, in conjunction with the FBI, declassified and publicly released files related to convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein and his exploitation of over 250 girls. They do add a nice disclaimer here. The first phase of declassified files largely contains documents that have been previously leaked but never released in a formal capacity by the US government. So
they said it was phase 1, but it looks more like phase 0.
Yeah, this is nothing.
Yeah.
This is nothing whatsoever. So what you have here is an itemized evidence list, which is of no use to many people. A flight, all of the flight logs that we already had, a redacted contact book, which we already have unredacted.
Yeah, the unredacted one was leaked to like wherever.
Yeah, and a redacted masseuse list, which is 250 names, completely redacted for the purposes of the fact that these masseuses were the victims.
Yeah.
So that's completely understandable. But we have got absolutely nothing of any value right now. And one of the most bizarre things to come out of this is this, right? So the GOP House Judiciary Committee, led by Jim Jordan, posted a link to the Epstein files, a tiny URL, and when you clicked on it, you got this.
We're getting rickrolled.
Right?
Oh, we are?
Yeah.
Okay.
Why?
Is that funny, is it?
Is that funny? Is this something that the GOP House Judiciary Committee should be doing in something like the Epstein files, something that not only is a serious crime in and of itself, but has ridiculously far-ranging implications to the intelligence agencies, who Jeffrey Epstein was working for, what purpose he was using it for.
Who is he trafficking the goddamn girls to?
Who was he trafficking the girls to? What influence was he trying to buy through having this blackmail material on these people? And again, very, very important, who was he doing it all for? Because looking into Jeffrey Epstein himself, I know I've been listening to a little bit of the Martha Maid podcast, because he's got a 5.5-hour series on Jeffrey Epstein. I wasn't able to listen to all of it, but from the information that I know, Jeffrey Epstein and his origins are incredibly mysterious. He's just a college dropout who becomes a maths teacher, and then all of a sudden he manages to wrangle himself into being a financial advisor and manager of funds for Les Wexner.
Yep.
Over the course of 1 or 2 meetings, after which he's given the entire control of this man's finances, and 5 years later is given some kind of contractual agreement that means he can sign anything on behalf of this man at any time. It's absurd that this man comes out of nowhere, has all of this influence, is able to do all of these terrible things, is repeatedly brought up for it, and then in 2013, I think it was, when he was originally brought to court over this, is given a very, very easy deal where he only serves 15 months. Where did this man come from? How did he amass this influence? Why did he amass this influence? For whom was he given this influence? These are all questions that we want answered, but the new story, because of how much of a disaster this entire rollout has been, will be revolving around purely the struggle to get the files released, and then I imagine we'll get the files released eventually. They will be incredibly heavily redacted and give us nothing that we don't already have.
I don't think that we're gonna find out anything.
No.
And the whole thing was a circus, especially what they did here, because they treated a really important scandal like gossip. This is literally low-level gossip. I'm phoning you. I'm telling you, Harry, I have news for you. I'm gonna tell you. So I'm trying to create. I'm trying to make you wait for it, and I'm not.
Build anticipation.
Exactly.
And
Build
never actually
anticipation.
lead anywhere.
And I think
It's a joke without a punchline.
Yes, and I'm really happy that there was backlash regarding this, and I think they may have deleted it. I quote tweeted the House Judiciary, and now
They
the page
have
doesn't
deleted it, yeah.
exist.
Because
So
it's obvious.
that's at least a
Why would
good
you
thing.
treat this like a joke?
Yes.
We want people arrested.
I can only assume, and this is speculation on my part, that a lot of the people who might be tied up in all of this are the same people who are now being tasked with looking into it and releasing it. Obviously, not necessarily Trump's immediate appointees. I would hope so.
Yeah.
But, I mean, we don't know.
Yeah.
That's the problem, is that we don't know.
And the fact
And it's
is,
going to stay that way.
it kind of implicates the lot of them, right? It's an elite paedophile network that was trafficking girls to be abused in order to get compromat on people at the highest positions of power. Right? This means our
It's
civilization.
mafia tactics. That's what the mafia used to do.
I
And what did the mafia get out of it? Well, they got bad stuff on J. Edgar Hoover, who then went around saying, "Oh no, there's no organized crime in America," because that's why you get it, so that they'll leave you alone.
Yeah, we don't want a civilization run that way, and it's not just in America. It's going to be everywhere that these people were operating. So this is really important.
This definitely spans international boundaries.
Absolutely, and aside from the fact that, okay, you know, what we're doing is allowing a bunch of child abusers to control our civilizations. Like, we don't want these people getting off either. And so this being so flippant is just disgusting.
And something else that came across very flippant was the strange decision to allow a load of social media influencers like Libs of TikTok here and Mike Chernovich to have a nice little DC Drano, I think that gentleman is, to have a nice little photo up holding these binders that say Epstein Files Phase 1 on the front of it, as if it's something important, as if they were going to do the same thing with this that they did with the Twitter files, where Elon Musk was going to just give it to a load of... Well, I mean, to be fair, the people...
Twitter files were revelatory.
Yeah, the people...
They were actually interesting.
And he gave it to journalists rather than social media influencers. In these files themselves are, again, nothing that we didn't already have. And as far as I know, these guys didn't even know what was in there in the first place. So these guys were brought along to act as part of the media circus purely to be, publicly humiliated because they look like fools?
I don't know. Like,
very strange.
This is a very peculiar thing because there's no reason that I mean, it's fine to give them to social media influencers, right? That's okay. But why aren't there arrests? Like, we want names of the people who are involved in the child sex trafficking rings who have been using the abuse of children for political influence. Like, Ghislaine Maxwell is the only person who's actually properly charged for this, and she's currently in jail for trafficking children to no one. Like, we know these people are out there. We know there's a network. Why aren't you just tearing them all up and putting them all in jail?
It's a good question.
It's a really bizarre thing.
And again, the people who got these files, they're just going on their social media like, oh, look at me, I've got these files, we're going to get it soon, we're going to get the information out to you that you already know that's going to be redacted, that you already had that was unredacted, because the FBI and other various people leaked a lot of this information ages ago. So, these people are just going to get a few likes off of it?
Yeah,
get their Twitter updates.
Engagement farming.
Yeah. Very, very strange. And again, of the information that we have, so this account Swig is the only one who seems to have actually released any photos of what they were able to find in these files in the first place. And then you've got people just going, well, here's what you've posted. Here's what we already had.
Yeah. Because his entire book was leaked.
Yeah.
I covered this in a video 6 years ago. You know, we know all of this stuff. None of this is new.
Yeah,
it's just a bunch of court transcripts that we already had.
It's bizarre. And apparently, the story is that these influencers were all just invited to the White House for an unrelated purpose. About 2 hours into the meeting that they attended, they received binders and then were summoned to the Oval Office to meet Trump. They left the binders behind but grabbed them before heading out. And as they got out, a swarm of cameras greeted them, which is where we get these press photos from. Now, I don't know how true this story is, but if it is true, then these people have all been fooled, and made to look a bit like fools. And if this is untrue, I mean, it doesn't matter what the truth of the matter is. The whole thing is stupid and slapdash and a pure distraction. And of the other information that people are saying, you know, like Ian Miles Chong revealing the amazing revelation. Oh, he was an FBI informant.
In Ian's defense, he's not saying this is an amazing revelation. He's at least just saying, look, this is what happened.
Yeah.
You know,
And
we know, you know.
Yeah, we know, but I mean, yeah, it's one of many, many connections to intelligence agencies, domestic and international, that he has. That means, of course, the people giving us this information aren't going to want us to actually have the information that they've got.
I thought Kash Patel was just going to go in like a wrecking ball and destroy them all. But Pam Bondi was like, yeah, it's on my desk, we're getting out. Why are you doing this?
Yeah. I mean, if you are interested in learning about the Jeffrey Epstein stuff, the FBI has already, through Freedom of Information Acts that you can find on their Vault webpage, released lots and lots of documents about Jeffrey Epstein. Again, heavily redacted.
There's nothing interesting in them.
There's not that much interesting in them, but we already have loads of redacted information about Jeffrey Epstein, which has led to no arrests.
Yeah.
So this is just another part of the cycle of the Jeffrey Epstein story, where it's basically turned into a gigantic conspiracy theory where nobody can say anything specific or anything that is confirmed because, well, we're all just left in the dark. And the news cycle just carries on with the, will they be able to get the information out there? Will they be able to get the files? Whereas the people who are actually criminals, who have done wrong, get to carry on. Yeah. They just get to carry on.
This is what they're going to do. They're going to constantly say the battle to drain the swamp is going to be an everlasting battle, and it's a battle that is never won entirely.
Yeah.
I think this has been a really
very badly handled.
And also from a media perspective, it doesn't communicate any kind of strength or will to actually solve everything. It's a disaster.
Wasn't the FBI just summoned into existence via executive order?
I believe so. I think, was it under FDR that the FBI was summoned into existence? It was probably as part of some kind of New Deal scheme to steal all of the gold from Americans, because they did actually they did nick all of your gold in the 1930s America.
Yeah. So I mean, I would. I guess I've not got any fear about being in these books, so I would just dissolve the FBI and take it all and publish it. But what do I know? You know.
Well, you don't have a loaded gun to your head.
No, I don't, yeah.
And also, unlike many of these people, you probably don't have any compromising files on you held by these people, so of course you're going to say, well, just dissolve the whole thing. So the latest information now is that Pam Bondi has accused the FBI of withholding thousands of pages of Jeffrey Epstein documents as the U.S. Attorney General. She's now demanded that all of the documents are turned over by Friday morning. In a public letter, she asked the newly confirmed FBI Director Kash Patel to also investigate why, after repeated requests for their release, thousands of documents related to the Epstein probe had already been withheld.
Because remember, Kash Patel's been on podcasts saying, yeah, I've seen the unredacted Jeffrey Epstein files. They're brutal. And it's like, okay, now you're in charge. You're the guy who can pull the trigger on it.
Yep.
What are we waiting for here?
So the FBI, according to this latest update on this page, now has just 1 hour to hand over thousands of pages if they've not already potentially destroyed some of them.
Or what?
Yeah.
Or what happens?
I don't know.
Exactly.
Why is there a deadline?
Yeah, and lots of people are also annoyed. Yeah, you get this. You're going to get entire pages of just blacked out lines.
Swalwell, the guy who sleeps with Chinese spies, is dunking on you.
Yeah, again, this does not make you seem like a serious administration if this is what is going on. But it was completely unsurprising to me and to many people that this is what was going to happen because of the vested interests behind Epstein in the first place, who he was working for, who he was doing it with. And now this is going to be a lot of conspiratorial talk for just a moment, and a lot of it is going to be circumstantial. But the fact is, this is the best idea we have as to why Epstein was able to get into the position of power that he was in the first place, and that is that he was an intelligence asset. I mean, look at this. Back in, it was 2007, not 2013. Apologies. So back in 2007, Alexander Acosta, who was the former U.S. attorney in Miami, cut Jeffrey Epstein a 15-month plea deal for child sex offenses. And he said after the fact that he was told that Epstein belonged to intelligence.
If I recall correctly, Epstein was only in jail. I think he was under house arrest. So I'll double check me on that, but I'm pretty sure
Hardly a punishment
I'm
for
pretty
what they
sure,
already
I'm pretty
had
sure
on
he
him.
was confined to his Florida mansion with his swimming pool.
I know. Completely terrible. And the question then is, which intelligence? But that's a very big question, and in all likelihood, most of them.
Yeah.
Because they all work together, but one of the ones that people think is most likely for being maybe the top of the hierarchy of the ones that he was answering to was potentially Israel's intelligence service, Mossad. And that's because of many connections he had. For instance, Ghislaine Maxwell, is it pronounced? Yeah, was the daughter of Robert Maxwell. And if I scroll down, and this is just his Wikipedia page, so this is very, very public information, which has been confirmed many times. There are books written on this stuff that you can read about him.
It's completely uncontroversial to say that
he was a Mossad agent. He had known links to the British Secret Intelligence Service, the MI6, to the Soviet KGB, and to the Israel Intelligence Service, Mossad. 6 serving and former heads of Israeli intelligence services attended his funeral in Israel, while Israeli Prime Minister Yitzhak Shamir eulogized him and stated he has done more for Israel than can today be told.
And his death itself is deeply suspicious. Oh, he just fell off his boat one day.
Yeah.
Just fell off his boat, bro. Don't worry about it.
So I think when people are talking about him as just an intelligence asset or an informant, it's really downplaying it.
Yeah. Well, he was an agent.
We're not talking about someone who is in a low profile position and who is being asked by an intelligence service, what do you think about the guy who works next to you? We're talking about someone who regularly met very high profile people.
Yes, very, very powerful people, some of the most powerful people in the world. And then there's also the fact that obviously this is, you could say hearsay, but there's the fact that, apparently there's
direct people.
Apparently he said he was a Mossad agent himself. Now, of course, he might have been bigging himself up. He might, because this is from the word of a former girlfriend who was in a lawsuit and referred only to as Jane Doe 200. She stated that he and Ghislaine Maxwell hinted that he was an agent for Mossad, the Israeli intelligence agency, just like Maxwell's father, Robert. For her part, Ghislaine allegedly warned Doe that it was not good to be Epstein's enemy. Now, this was a woman who was sadly raped by Jeffrey Epstein and intimidated, and you could say that, well, maybe he was trying to big himself up so that it sounded as though... But the fact is that there are direct connections between Maxwell and him, and a lot of other information. And of course, this does not in any way mean that the other intelligence agencies, the CIA, the MI6, anyone that you can think of, are innocent of this, because they all trade information, they all know what's going on with all of the other ones, and in all likelihood, if this does go to the intelligence agencies, which is what it sounds like it is, it sounds like they would have all been in on this, because if you're an intelligence agency, why wouldn't you want incredible blackmail material on the president? Why wouldn't you want blackmail material on every influential businessman in America or internationally? Why wouldn't you want blackmail material on all of Hollywood? Why wouldn't you want all of this? That's amazing for you, because you can do whatever you want.
Yeah, no, there's nothing to disagree with there.
Yeah. And so that's where we stand at the moment. I can imagine that barring the circumstantial and other evidence that we have right now, there's not going to be much else coming out of this until maybe phase 2. If I want to just inhale some nice copium right now, maybe phase 2 will actually unearth some interesting information that hasn't been destroyed or redacted yet. But with where it's going right now, the story is going to be around the circus show of getting a load of random influencers to wave about some binders for it to be just another part of the news cycle that then moves on. Whereas we should all be very aware that this is more than just the news cycle. These are the people who control your life in many ways.
Until people are being arrested, then none of it means anything.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what it comes down
So if there's some arrests made, then I'll take the bitter pill and say that I was wrong, but until then I have no reason to believe that I will.
If you would like to watch the full uncut version that is also uncensored, head on over to lotuseaters.com to find out more.